All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to talk about some secrets to manifesting or one of the key points possibly to manifesting? Well, it is Wednesday, and you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Wednesday Wisdom, Wisdom of the Ages. Once again, we're reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Wisdom of the Ages. 60 Days to Enlightenment is the subtitle, but we are way beyond 60 days, ladies and gentlemen. We're up to 8 months, maybe even 9. And so, as we've learned throughout this process, enlightenment isn't something you just get to in 60 days, even though this is, the subtitle of the book we're reading from. Once you discover that enlightenment isn't a 60-day process, you realize that it's a continual process that you always go through. And so I hope everybody's got themselves a beverage and you're comfy in your nice comfy chair or wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen. And today's reading is titled by Wayne Dyer's Privacy. But the first line of this is both the secret for manifesting and what you desire into your life and the mysteries of quantum physics are partially revealed in these words of Mahatma Gandhi. And so our little poem or quote or little piece of literature, the wisdom master for today, you could call it, because each one of these chapters of the Wisdom of the Ages is a different poet or author or mystic or, wonderful teacher that has come from the ages, whether it be the 1800s or the 1600s or like Lao Tzu 2,500 years ago. And so Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi lived 1869 to 1948, known as Mahatma Gandhi, which means great soul. That being spelled Mahatma, Mahatma. Gandhi advocated nonviolence in his fight for independence and civil rights for the people of India. And so this little poem's a short one, but powerful, only 4 lines. And let's dive right into it, ladies and gentlemen. It begins by saying, strength of numbers is the delight of the timid, the valiant in spirit glory in fighting alone. Strength of numbers is the delight of the timid, the valiant in spirit glory in fighting alone. And so once again, it's one of these paradoxes. You would usually think that the strength of numbers would give you just that, more strength, more power, more ability. But the valiant in spirit glory. They, take great pride in this ability of fighting alone. And so what is being said to us here by Mahatma Gandhi? Let's dive right into what Wayne Dyer has to say about this interesting, short little piece of literature. Both the secret for manifesting, what we said here in the beginning, what you desire into your life, and the mysteries of quantum physics are partially revealed in these words of Gandhi. This is clearer when we consider that we can divide the universe of our personal experience into the seen and the unseen, or the material and the spiritual. So that's another way to think of it. And this is, a point that always comes back in all this great wisdom, whether it's the wisdom of the Tao or all these different authors and poets, and here the wisdom of the ages, or just any kind of, deeper spiritual teachings, is that there is this separation of our physical experience and our spiritual experience. And so one of the lines Wayne Dyer said, I'm not sure if he got it from somebody else, but I'll get it from him. And it's, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather it's the other way around. It's that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so let's continue here, because that's an interesting thing that always comes up. The unseen and the seen, or the material and the spiritual. The world of the seen, Wayne Dyer continues, is what we experience with our senses. It is this world that we are most interested in when it comes to having the things that we desire. Now, see, manifesting is pretty much about this idea of because, when you come into this kind of area of thought, whatever you want to call it, you're usually in a state of lack, in a state of desiring more. And there's a difference between desire and lack. But, you're usually, okay, how do I manifest? Because right now I don't have enough money, or right now this isn't working out, or you just happen to be into really spiritual teachings and ideas like I was. But it's even at the time I wanted to manifest, I bet money, which eventually you break it down to the essence of what you really want is security, a sense that you have enough, and all of these other more deeper feelings that go behind the idea of I just want money. But so the world that we experience most of our lives in, especially the world that society has trained us to only think about all the time, instead of, the way these spiritual teachings teach us to think more about our spiritual existence while we're going through this physical existence, and try to create a harmony and a union between those two things, so that in turn we can experience a higher quality of life, which is what I'm always talking about here, and I'm always obsessed and fascinated with myself, is how I can go through every day and use a new awareness, a new view on the experience through this greater connection. But anyways, I continue to ramble, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're getting value. If you are, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think so far. So, and it's the key point here. It is in this world. So in this physical focus, you can think about it like two focuses. You have your spiritual focus and your physical focus. And we need to be able to oscillate very well. I don't know, that's just coming through me right now, but it is in this world that we are most interested in when it comes to having the things that we desire. So when we want to begin to manifest, we're always focused on the physical world rather than using the unseen or the spiritual world. But where do things come from? Wayne Dyer says and asks. Where do things come from, ladies and gentlemen? Do they come from the world of the seen, the physical world? Because it would seem that we've been taught to believe that. But how does this so-called reality manifest? Quantum physics, Wayne Dyer continues, search for the answer to that question. And I contend that the first quantum physicist was not Bohr or Einstein, but St. Paul, one of the authors of the New Testament. Interesting. In the words of St. Paul, that which is seen, this quote, that which is seen hath not come from that which doth appear. It seems to me that St. Paul stated precisely what contemporary quantum physicists have concluded. And now this is most important for those of you interested in manifesting. This is the key or the secret to manifesting, that a lot of people that think this is just spiritual mumbo jumbo mind stuff don't really recognize this, this part of quantum physics. And so it's that particles themselves, the physical realm, the seen, are not responsible for their own creation. Quantum mechanics involves studying matter, the material world. And remember, that's what we're all so trained to be focused on all the time, especially when it comes to how do we get more of what, how do we get what we want out of life? And it's like we keep looking at this physical realm to try to make it out of something that's already here. But, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm saying too many words. I'm taking us off the point here. Particles themselves are not responsible for their own creation. And so the material world, at the tiniest level, quantum mechanics is studying the material world at the tiniest level while looking for the source of our physical world. And so you remember when we're talking about the Tao, or great spirit, or grand organizing design, or great, universal intelligence, or all of whatever you want to call God, or, whatever label you put on it, this force. I like to call it the force because it makes me think of Star Wars, really. But leave a yes comment if you're a fan of the force idea from Star Wars, because that's it. It's an interesting way to describe this universal thing that can be used in many ways, but it has this kind of underlying essence into the operation of all things. And so back to quantum physics here. I keep getting off the subject. The conclusion is that the world of the seen comes from the world of the unseen. So how does all of this relate to Gandhi's viewpoint of the valiant in spirit fighting alone? Wayne Dyer says, read on, or continue listening, ladies and gentlemen. The two divisions of our one reality, Wayne Dyer says, are ego and spirit. And we've talked about ego and spirit many times in this series, Wisdom of the Ages, as well as the Tuesday Tao videos we do. Wisdom of the Tao. But ego is often described as standing for earth guide only because one cannot create or manifest from the dimensions of ego. Interesting. So once again, that physical, the concrete, yesterday it was melting into harmony. And that's what I think of again right there when I say that it's the opposite of the physical and the concrete. We need to melt into the harmony of this ability. But it takes great study and, I want to say meditation, but then people are like, oh, you're telling me I have to meditate? Well, meditating is great, but I'm talking about contemplation, really. And so ego, often described as standing for earth, only because one cannot create or manifest from the dimension of ego. And the unseen world is called spirit. Particles, the material itself, are not responsible for their own creation. So to manifest your dreams, you must be free of your ego. Ego is nothing more than an idea you carry around that insists you are separate and in competition with others, and also separate from God or your source or the force or whatever you want to call it again, Tao. As long as you believe yourself to be separate, ladies and gentlemen, from everyone and from your source, you lose the power of your source. And so that's really important. As long as you believe yourself to be separate, and remember the great quote, whether you believe it or whether you believe it or you don't, you're right. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. And so we have to begin to start seeing this connection, the oneness in the unity in duality, because we do exist in this physical duality realm temporarily, but at the same time, we also exist in the unity and the oneness, and that is our source power. And so that's so funny. Yesterday was like all about how to, melt into this oneness, this unity, this going away from the ego, having us separate from everyone and from our source. And so then once we can, begin to feel connection and a sense of harmony with all things, then we begin to take back our power. And see, we were talking about our power yesterday too. And so take back the power of your source. When you reconnect, Wayne Dyer continues, to your source, or make conscious contact, that is knowing. See, most people, I believe, but when you make conscious contact, you know. Make conscious contact with the unseen spirit, you regain the power of your source. This means you regain the power to manifest, to heal, and to attract what you desire into your life. And so he's kind of describing here simply this process of beginning to manifest. And we've gone through a lot of keys of manifesting. And so we know it's a lot greater process than just these few things, but this is a great rundown of the idea of manifesting and what needs to be thought about in this process. Because most people think you just sit there on your couch, the secret. I'm going to sit here and think thoughts of money, and then money is going to appear on the table. And there is much more to the process, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you what. Now, this means you regain the power to manifest, to heal, to attract what you desire into your life. However, even reconnected to source, ego wants to be involved. So remember, ego makes an excellent servant, terrible master. The moment that you begin, and this is where the privacy comes in, ladies and gentlemen, the moment that you begin to tell others about what you desire and how you are going to create the kind of life you know as your personal destiny, you invite ego. And another way he describes it is you transfer the energy of what it is you're focusing on and trying to create to the expectations and what you get back from those that you're telling. So you're blocking this energy, this free flowing, and you turn into ego accidentally without even realizing it. And so that's one of the great keys to manifesting. One of the great secrets is this idea of privacy in your process. And so once again, the moment you begin to tell others about what you desire and how you're going to create the life you know is your destiny, you invite in ego. As you begin explaining your radical ideas, or maybe even amazing ideas to you, ladies and gentlemen, you will be asked, whether it's subconsciously or straight out by somebody, to defend yourself. Because usually when we have radical ideas of changing our entire life, whether they're radical or not, once again, but when we have ideas of making a change, we usually have to have some kind of reason for it for everybody. And see, we go back to ego, back to the physical. And so as then we feel the need to argue about how this fits or falls into the perceptions of those that we're talking to and telling this about. And sometimes this happens subconscious, even if it's people that truly support you, you still connect to their responses rather than being on purpose. Remember, being independent of even the good opinion of other people and being unattached from the outcome and having no investment in power over others. Those are three of the what it takes to become a self-actualizing individual. But that's another subject all on its own. As you begin explaining these ideas, we have to defend ourselves, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves coming up with all these ideas that are ego-based about the perceptions of those that we're telling this about. And most debilitating of all, you will be expected to listen to the logic of those who choose to share your dreams with you as they tell you to get real and look around at the circumstances of your life. How are you ever going to be able to do this? And once the ego becomes involved, Wayne Dyer continues, you literally lose the ability to create what your heart tells you is your destiny. You begin blocking the flow. It's all about flowing here. Thus, by sharing your innermost desire to seek out the strength of numbers, remember the little passage from Gandhi there, which Gandhi says is the delight of the timid. So we cannot be timid in our process of manifesting. We have to be backed by a burning desire and a passion, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about it, Wayne Dyer continues, the timid do not manifest their own dreams. They join the ranks of the unfulfilled. Now, I'm not against making teams here. See, that's a different thing on its own. And there's always that paradoxical opposite. You can take this the wrong way sometimes. So don't take this the wrong way, ladies and gentlemen. By fighting alone for what you know to be your destiny, regardless of what others say, you become the valiant in spirit, quote unquote, who glory in fighting alone. The spirit is the source of all that you see and all that you witness, all that you observe. You can reconnect by avoiding ego's influence. This means specifically keeping your dreams to yourself and sharing them only with your source, or whatever you call that indivisible source of everything in our material world. And I find it important here now to take a second to state, because back to the quantum physics, talking about that particles do not create them. So what happens in more of an more explanation on that quantum physics side of this manifesting process is that it seems that once you get down to the smallest levels, there's just waves of energies that eventually become particles. And so it seems there's a lot of seams going on, but it seems to us so far in all of our grand knowledge that, you know, the more you know, the more that you don't know. But from the waves, from the world of the waves to the world of the particles. So from energy to form, from energy to matter. And so from the mind to our life. And so we have to remember this process of going from the waves, which is our, frequencies and our thought processes, creating waves, and then eventually becoming a reality in our life because it's what we act upon. Because what you think about expands in the reason that it becomes what you act upon. And it's what drives your behavior. And so if you're thinking, I never have enough and I'm always frustrated and this is a struggle, that's what you're going to act upon and is going to drive your behavior, is not having enough, always struggling. But if you think, I am, you begin to switch it, you will begin to switch your behavior and your actions because your thoughts will drive the direction of where you're going to try to do things to make a difference in your life. So that seemed like a necessary little ramble there. Reconnect, Wayne Dyer continues, to that source and regain all the powers of that source. Invite the ego and you ensure separation from your source. As a young man, I had a vision of creating financial independence, Wayne Dyer says. I shared my plan with family and friends, and each time I related how I was going to first pay myself 1/5 of everything I earned, before anything was spent elsewhere, I heard all sorts of objections to my financial strategy. I remember being told, he says, you're out of touch with reality. You can't save 20% of your income, pay taxes, pay your bills, and take care of your family. It's impossible. I defended my plan, Wayne says, explaining how compounding the interest and not touching the principal would lead to living off the tax-free interest in less than 15 years. Fascinating. Fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. But, he says, I would become discouraged listening to the experts who were majoring in poverty. So watch where you get your advice, ladies and gentlemen, or learn to listen to those that have advice for you, but realize the quality of the advice, maybe. I learned to keep my mouth shut, Wayne says, and proceed silently. And I'll add, even a fool seems wise who keeps his mouth shut. I found that the less I needed to tell others of my vision, this is key to manifesting here, the less I needed to tell others of my vision, the faster my vision began materializing. By removing my dream from the ego state and instead relying on the silent power, I attracted into my life a financial independence that reflected my inner vision. And so it's holding on to that inner vision, ladies and gentlemen, being detached from the outcome and detached from the good or bad opinions of anybody out there, and just being on purpose in process. And so he learned to keep his mouth shut and proceed silently. Gandhi's words remind me, Wayne says, of that earlier time in my life. And they are succinctly powerful reminder in today's world. Resist the need to have many people endorse your dreams and instead be a valiant spirit who glories in trusting your own inner guidance, ladies and gentlemen. Another way of saying this is less sophisticated, but equally as profound. If you follow the pack, you're going to end up stepping in a lot of what they leave behind. Oh, that's a funny one. I didn't think it was going to go that direction. If you follow the pack, I thought I was going to say you just end up like the rest of the pack. But this one says you're probably going to end up stepping in a lot of what they leave behind. My suggestion for putting Gandhi's words into practice include the following. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you should get this book for yourself to have it on your bookshelf, which is behind me on the other side of the TV. But it's like there is at the end of each of these chapters, whether it's wisdom of the ages or living the wisdom of the Tao, Tuesday Tao, which we have sitting over here, change your thoughts, change your life, ladies and gentlemen, which is what we're doing every day, or well, twice a week. I hope you're doing it every day, twice a week on this channel here and in these videos. And we're trying to create a much higher quality of life for ourselves and those around us and those who will come next after us, ladies and gentlemen. And so at the end of each of these chapters, he gives us a practical way that we can understand how to put these words of advice from all the wonderful authors and poets into practice in our life. So I have this book, whoops, this side. If you expand the description below the video, it's linked there so you can get it for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. So Wayne Dyer's suggestions for putting Gandhi's words from this beautiful little piece of, I don't know if it was poetry or just from his own scripture, but these wonderful words of Gandhi into practice in our life includes the following. When you are about to seek the endorsement, number one, of anyone for your dreams, stop and remember that once the ego becomes involved, you lose both your spiritual and your scientific means for creating what you want. Number two, to satisfy your need to announce your plans, describe in a journal what you are going to manifest into your life. And that goes way beyond just relieving this need to announce our plans. It actually helps in the process of creating what it is you want into a reality that you actually experience. And so at the very least, he says, your journal will not give you reasons to doubt your dreams. And then number three here, keep uppermost in mind that the process of creation moves from the unseen to the seen, ladies and gentlemen, from the spirit to the material. And so trust deeply in your ability to make conscious contact with that invisible world. Conscious contact is the difference between knowing about God and knowing God. Knowing about your power, your connection to source, and actually truly knowing it, believing in knowing. And so I'll read that last little bit there again so we can end with the boom to knowledge and wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Trust deeply in your own ability to make conscious contact with that invisible world, because conscious contact, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference between knowing, experiencing, and believing and hoping. Boom to knowledge, ladies and gentlemen. Boom to wisdom. This has been a fantastic book. Look at how close we're getting to the end there, ladies and gentlemen. And the next one is titled Self-Image. What do we think about self-image, ladies and gentlemen? Well, that will be a different topic, but usually all of these link together. And that is the interesting thing about, getting into great wisdom, is that you realize that it's all connected somehow, ladies and gentlemen. And so that was fantastic. The secret for manifesting what you desire and the mysteries of quantum physics, as well as the key of how privacy plays a role in manifesting what you want in your life. Fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's out there trying to bring happiness to their life as an activity rather than seeking it as a result. And we'll do the normal ending here because I love to say it every time and it's so fun. Continue, ladies and gentlemen, to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through a greater awareness. and continue to seek to discover the hidden wisdom of the ages. And begin, ladies and gentlemen, again, to make happiness the way. Make happiness what you bring to life, rather than always seeking it as the end result, always saying, I'll be happy when I get there. Because when we can make happiness the way, the destination, the goal, I usually say it's irrelevant because we're already there, and then the entire journey is beautiful. But the destination or goal becomes in the process. It becomes being part of the journey, part of the getting there. And so we've all heard those quotes, it's in the journey, not the destination. And so begin, ladies and gentlemen, to make a change in your life with great wisdom, because we can all do it. It just takes a little bit of work and thinking and, a shift of awareness and a new way of looking at life. And we can begin to increase the quality of not only our lives, like I've said, but the lives of those around us and those who will come behind us in the future. And so once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for spending your time here with me and all the wonderful authors and poets, particularly Mahatma Gandhi today, which I didn't expect, which was fantastic. So thank you, Gandhi, for being here, as well as thank you, Wayne Dyer. And thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to expand the description below the video and check the links. I believe I have the book link there, as well as my Etsy shop if you want to get some of my landscape paintings. And C60 Purple Power is a fantastic antioxidant product, as well as green tea. Green tea is good for you too, so implement some green tea every now and then, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I love you, and thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe or share this with somebody you think might get value out of this, because that's what this is really about, having a positive impact. And so, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week, and maybe we'll do some shorter videos in between now and next Tuesday Dow. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's every day that we can do the Dow now. All right, love you.